Can we chat? Lord have mercy. Technical difficulties on this is an unauspicious thing. 12/11/2023. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 3. That's a lucky number. Aha! There it is. Great. All right. Cooking with gas. Lean. All right. Good. There we are. Hey, Whitney. Hey, Lisa. So, I have topics. You might have questions. Does anyone have any questions? Anyone got anything they want to ask? Hey, Tish. Better ask somebody. Just come right out and say it if you got a question. BG, I thought you didn't like me anymore. No. That was a mistake. I was testing things, and sometimes when you test things, they break. I was testing the approved users chat because it's sort of like I didn't know what it was, and I thought I knew what it was, and I tested it, and it is what I thought it was. So like a mod chat. No you. No you, no you, no you, no you, no. We have topics. We could talk about high control groups. We could talk about personal stories, impact on families, domestic violence. I could talk about that. And not just the physical kind. Emotional violence is some, oh man, that is some fucked up shit. I would rather, having experienced both, not that I would prefer or choose this ever, or recommend it ever, but I would rather be physically abused than emotionally abused. No cap. No cap. Yeah. Topics! Yay, we have topics. I would rather be emotionally abused. I would rather be physically abused than emotionally abused. Anybody want to come to group? Are you going to group this morning? Let's talk. We got to talk about things or they don't get better. We have topics. So anybody? Because I'd rather be physically abused than emotionally abused. No cap. No cap. The reason, Amy Jean, is it possible to be physically abused without being emotionally abused? Coffee talk? Yeah. Baba Wawa. Is it possible to be physically abused without being emotionally abused? Is it possible to be physically abused without being emotionally abused? I think so. I think. If it's someone that you aren't emotionally attached to at all, connected with, like say, I'm not saying in every circumstance. I'm saying there are maybe some circumstances that I can think of where you could be physically abused but not emotionally abused. For instance, when I was a teenager, getting in a fight with somebody, like just or getting jumped. Like I didn't take that personally. There was no emotional there really was no emotional upset. Like, I wasn't upset I got jumped. I wasn't upset uh, even at the people that did it. But, yeah, I mean, we were getting hit with sticks and shit. So, um, Travis says he doesn't think so. I think they're connected, but what I'm saying is that it may be possible to be physically abused without with little to no emotional, like, affect. I'll put it that way, affect. Um, but we're emotional creatures, so I don't know. Like, the answer should be no. It's not possible to be physically abused without being emotionally abused, I think. But I think there are situations where your affect won't reflect that, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, being physically assaulted can cause someone trauma, for damn sure. Emotional trauma and physical trauma. Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to look at a situation because the question was, is it possible? Is it possible? And so I was thinking of how it could be. Um, and when I was thinking about getting jumped, you know, I think the only person that did really get emotional or like took it personal was our friend Daniel. Uh, and they whacked him really good on the ankle with a 2x4 or a 4x4. I don't remember what it was. It was they had all of the. It was at a high school track, and they had rakes and hose and pitchfork and 2x4s and a chain, just all kind of shit. And they was swinging that stuff. Um, I got hit with a rake. Travis, were you there? I'm trying to remember. It was at the Sulphur High track. We were eating Taco Bell. We were just walking the track eating some Taco Bell. But to my point, I would rather be physically abused because that shit heals. You know, a black eye will go away. It, and whether it's the emotional trauma left by the physical abuse or if it's just the emotional abuse itself, uh, for some reason, the physical um, it's like, for me, feels like physical abuse is it's so reactive. Like when someone gets physical with you in a domestic situation, um, they've lost their cool. Right, cool heads prevail. They have lost the ability to rationally think, and now they're going to commit a domestic violence act. So that's to me a whole lot different than someone carefully breaking down your emotional uh, makeup and attacking parts of it, parts of your personhood, and making little of them, and reducing them, and um, you know maligning you against yourself, or just being maligning, so that you start to be out of alignment with yourself. So I heard a Lulu bark, howl. That's a howl, not a bark. I've been hearing the barking all night long. Cynthia had to get up 4 times for that dog in the cold here, and we have tiniest fiddle in the world playing for us because it's not that cold. There's some places that are freezing freaking cold. Nico Rasu, I stepped on a rake. Amy, you're not supposed to attack yourself, Nick. Oh, it sounds like Amy and Nick have known each other for years. Oh, that's funny. I read that in a mutual friend of ours' voice. This guy named Geppetto. I could actually reproduce that really quick. That'd be great. Where here? Let's go here. I only Travis. By the way, if you're still here, I only have 8 songs left to chart out. I need to go to 11 Labs and log in. Yeah, sign in. Let's sign in with Google. Yeah. And we're going to put this through the gap filter. And we're going to see how that sounded in Gap's voice. So Amy said, I agree. Period. Oh, no. You're not supposed to. You're not. Let me do it like this. You're not supposed. You have to word it weird with AI. You're not supposed to. You're not. Let's just try it regular. You're not supposed to attack yourself, Nick. And then Gap would probably add an expletive here, like, you want to fill in the blank, Nick? And then I'll generate it. So Cynthia says, I would rather my middle sister punch me in the face than all the mental abuse she did to me from elementary school through high school. And that's kind of what I mean. Like, I don't mean that, like, physical abuse doesn't cause emotional abuse, emotional trauma, physical trauma, emotional trauma, usually connected, almost always. But just, like that, the calculating manner in which someone will go through to emotionally abuse you, to manipulate you, is far more sinister in the long run, because it really fucks with your head. You know, you can get punched in the face and it hurts, but your black eye will go away. But the shit that someone tells you your entire life, or your teenage years, or a friend that really screws you over real bad, or something like that, like a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a friend, whatever, that really, really fucking jabs it in the back, but not literally. In every other possible way. It's almost like death by 1,000 cuts. And, you know, when you get to deal with your emotions after all of that, it's like a laundry list. It's almost a freaking forever thing. So, ding ding. Lisa, the threat or fear of physical abuse can be worse than the physical abuse itself. In that sense, I would agree. And that's a great point. I didn't think of that. although I've experienced that, yeah, the threat, just the threat, fear. Fear is how you can control people. And it's it is said to be, and I mean, evolutionarily speaking, this emotion is one of our most powerful emotions, fear. We get motivated by fear to survive. And so, yeah, that threat of survival, even if it's not going to happen, if there's just a threat, just go back to the Jungle Book, tigers, lions, whatever. Like, this is part of our limbic system that gets activated. It's our brain. It's a complicated, crazy, cool thing that we get to have, human beings. Um, Sometimes I think being a tree would be pretty awesome, like a big giant tree. I don't know what that's like. Um, yeah, the threat or fear of physical abuse can be worse than the physical abuse itself. In that sense, I would agree. I would also say that, Travis, what the hell does SWIO mean? Um, the threat, I would also say that I like that you said can be worse because it's not always worse. Sometimes people make threats and it's just, yeah, okay. They're cowards. A lot of the people that do this shit are just straight up cowards. Um, how gather my thoughts here. I've been doing music all morning. Um, I would say cowardly, but it's more than that. It's there is a certain intelligence to it that is just like, I would call it misuse of intelligence or abuse. And from some of the people that have committed abuses that I know, like serious ones. I mean, we all have done something wrong, because we're not perfect. Unless one of you out there is perfect, I just don't know. Nick, you never gave me the last line for me to generate this gap sentence. I really want to hear it. I want to hear Gap respond. Um. Oh, he said sweet. All right. Um. Barb. Barb do. Barb no try. Do or do not. I think they. I think I've always thought that I could withstand the words, but in my one relationship with a person who had a personality disorder, he could have killed me. Yeah. Um, all right, I'll put I don't know. That is a valid thing. Gap would say. I don't know, man. Fuck it. All right, so here we go. Generating Gap.
You're not supposed to attack yourself, Nick. I don't know.
Ah, that was satisfying. So, there are, yeah, man, like it's dicey sometimes because there are people who can hold back their whatever homicidal urges so well that it will just come out of absolutely nowhere, and and you can be in serious danger. So, you know, you have to be very cautious with in a way and try to be as aware as possible. Uh, I hate to sound like super paranoid and always paranoid, but you know, Semper Gumby, head on a swivel, always. You know, uh, always be aware of, always try to be aware of intentions and patterns, like noticing patterns. Um, yeah, it's a real voice. It's been a real voice. I can make him say whatever you want. He gave me permission. He's like, yeah, fuck it, dude. Uh, mm, it's too bad he just can't. You know, I would love to hang out with Gap on air. It's just he's so vulgar. He's so vulgar. Oh, and it's like he just can't control it. Um, but he's so funny. Oh, okay. So, you know, recognizing the signs, right? Being aware, looking for the patterns, looking for odd behavior where there's normally normal behavior or whatever, you know. I think you know what I mean. There's no such thing as normal, but typical behavior from a person, and then all of a sudden things drastically change. That's something to keep an eye out. Like, when does that happen? How often does that happen? Uh, Nikarasu. Whitney. Po body's nerfed. I'm a po body. I don't know. Well, it's a real voice now. I was just thinking about having been assaulted and threatened. It's always been in my head the person is going to do what he said he would do to my house and family. Um, yeah. And we've spoken about that, you know? Last I heard, he was, you know, in custody, right? Or in jail. So if someone that makes a threat like that does go to jail, and I don't have a lot of experience with this because most of the people that threatened me or abused or physically assaulted or aggravated assaulted me or any of my family, they never went to jail. um, I can say this though, like usually in my experience, uh, and especially if they are substance abusers, um, they don't even really like once they like they'll threaten people and then forget about it, and then they're off on some other little trip somewhere else, and they're not even thinking about what happened anymore. Whereas you are left with the memory, the traumatic memory. And, you know, if it happened in your house, the location and everything, all that matters is it's all trigger stuff can trigger you. You walk by the stairwell, if that's where you got confronted and thrown up against the wall and a knife put to your throat or whatever, you know, that stairwell might trigger you. CBT might be able to help. I, uh, I'm starting to become a real firm believer in EMDR because I actually seem to feel my brain doing something. And I can't explain exactly what that means, but it was around here and here, which is the prefrontal and the limbic system. And the limbic system is responsible for all of your survival stuff, your whole endocrine system, and which is what will give you adenosine, noradrenaline, cortisol, endomorphone, all the things that your body can produce that are essentially scheduled narcotics. It doesn't allow your conscious mind to control that. Because if it did, we'd just be sitting around getting high all day. That's what I think. But when you do bilateral stimulation, there is an sort of a you take that traumatic memory that contains like confusion, disorientation, physical trauma, and it seems like those things sort of get erased from your memory, and then you walk past the stairwell, and like there's nothing anymore. Like you don't get triggered. That's how I would describe EMDR. So it might be something that for that specific experience. But if you're going to find an EMDR practitioner, I highly suggest you be in therapy and probably with an LPC that's licensed, and probably probably do some CBT before you do the EMDR to make sure that, it's going to be the right thing for you to do for yourself. Yeah. Seeking help from domestic violence, that's always fun. People love to hear about your domestic violence stuff. I'm completely being sarcastic. They love to hear your domestic violence story at the police station. They love to hear your sexual assault story, especially if you're a woman. They love hearing that. What did he do to you? And how did he do it? And what position was he in? Oh, fuck you, man. And the because I'll just speak for where I grew up. There are in any community there's going to be people that are above the law, people that have connections, people that can get away with things. And whether it's a man or a woman committing these things, they get away with it. And it's power that's abused. Happens everywhere. So, seeking help, well, there have been groups that get funding through different state grants, some of them from W4, not many. Most of them, they'll come out of a W4 and then go to a main state 501c3 that will then allocate funding. But the programs, a lot of them are just, excuse me. Now, keep in mind, I haven't been involved in any of these programs in many years. I can only hope they've gotten better. But I would say, relatively confidently that there's probably more that could be done to keep the victim safe. And if there's not more to be done to keep the victims safe, there are definitely more that could be done to make them feel safe. Like Nick was saying, it's feeling safe. I don't know. So reaching out and seeking help is tricky. Um, you don't necessarily want to go reach out to some random message board or Reddit thread or whatever, Yahoo Answers board, because many of the people who could respond aren't professionals. Now, you need. Let me get up on my soapbox, I guess. Again, like last week. When you leave a situation that is physically or emotionally or even spiritually abusive, it should be it by your own. It can take you can wrestle with it and take your time. Like getting over the initial shock and everything of leaving such a group or person. But it is on you to go get help. I know that might sound harsh, like, because what if you saw a car crash, or what if you were in a car crash and everybody just drives by? And it was all on you, you're bleeding out. Well, you're going to die. Everyone don't give a shit, they're passing by. But unfortunately, that feels like the situation with mental health. And that's why, I believe when I read things about we have a mental health crisis in the United States, it's hardly reported. You can go Google the shit out of it. You'll find all kinds of things and statistics about mental health crisis in the United States. I would argue this is a worldwide phenomenon, but, the U.S., we're big, big, bad motherfuckers. So we need to focus on our problems, and we have the tools and technology and education, whatever. If you think so, just repeat it. It's a primacy effect. Repeat it enough times, you'll believe it. But I don't think the mental health crisis is being taken too seriously. And there's really no better proof for me, personally, in the activities and communities that I've been involved with in the Virtua, which is the internet. I call it the Virtua. And, it's no more evident than online. The dominant algorithms are hate and fear algorithms. And we have a mental health crisis? Well, no shit. The dominant themes in industrial broadcast is fear and paranoia and hate from both sides. So those are like I said, fear and fear and hate are very closely related, because people tend to fear what they don't understand, and that fear can turn into hatred. If there's pain involved, survival, because fear is related to survival. Yeah, Nikarasu says troll algorithms. And these are willfully and knowingly implemented across social media platforms. In some cases, with Facebook, without prior knowledge, without prior consent, because you sign the fucking form on Facebook. You signed the end user license agreement. You agreed to all the terms. Morning, Brian. Fear is the mind killer. I must not fear. Let's read that quote from Dune. I love that you quoted Frank Herbert. Fear is the mind killer. I love this quote, but I do. There's some things in the quote that I've looked at and I'm like, yeah, but it's a great quote. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. I wonder what it would sound like if Gap said it. Oh, let's see. Where's 11 Labs at? There it is. All right. The longer the text, the worse the thing, but we'll just do it anyway. Is this it?
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
All right. Let's hear Garrett Lawrence say it. This guy. It's going to be good.
I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain.
He's got such a cinematic voice. It's poetic. It's beautiful. It's an amazing, wonderfully written piece of in that universe and literature, in the lore, of the Muad'Dib and the Fremen and all of that, and the Atreides culture, which is very rich. So in that universe, in that culture, in that world, yeah, it's very poetic. But here, I do like just fear is the mind killer, because it kind of is. When fear kicks in, your limbic system kicks in. But it doesn't completely kill your mind. It's just not completely. And the more you experience that, the more aware you are in moments of crisis. What I mean by that is, if you've experienced crisis after crisis after crisis, you're able to think a little more clear during the crisis, which is why emergency workers and police and law enforcement and FBI and CIA and undercover investigators and private investigators, don't have seemingly any fear. They still are afraid, for sure. But like I've probably told this story before. I know I've told it a million times, but there was a guy who tried to slice up my girlfriend at the time, who's a stalker, and we're coming home from, or we were walking, me and Travis were walking her and her sister home from Grauman's, and this dude was in the driveway, and he, we did, I mean, blink of an eye type stuff. But, um, you know, I've been attacked. I've been people. Someone tried to kill me. You know, as a teenager. I had another guy try to at least put me in the hospital, slamming my head on the concrete. Um, I had my brother Mark is short and stocky, and he used to do martial arts. And we used to fight a lot, and for not fighting because we were mad at each other, but we like to train together. And also, you know, being that I was living with a guy who would, you know, like to punch me in the gut all the time, uh, he he was a little more hands-on with a younger kid than he normally would have been, because he knew that the other guy I was living with was not going to be so uh, friendly sparring match. So, um, when the crisis happens, or when the domestic violence occurs, if you've experienced it, you know, multiple times, there's a, I would say it's fairly minimal, but it's enough to get an edge on the other person. This is why I think that, you know, maintaining, like, strategically, countries maintain an army by invading and sending soldiers to war. Like, you have to have experienced soldiers that know how to kill if you're going to have people killing other people, and other people are killing people, and you're trying to prevent certain people from killing people, and you need an army to do that. You're going to have to actually have people with experience with that kind of fucked up trauma of war. So you need to maintain a active military. And this is proven through history over and over again. Inexperienced troops, with all of the enthusiasm in the world and the numbers, can be defeated by an experienced group of veteran, uh, soldiers. So, in the same way, if you've experienced a lot of domestic trauma, violence, like, that experience might give you a second or 3 seconds of, like, clear-headed thought of what you can do in a few moments to get just enough ahead. It's almost like chess. Like, get ahead of the other players so that you got them in check. And cops are really good at this because they have so much experience. Like, they can think probably 10, 12 steps ahead of somebody in some cases. Not all cops. Some people, the cops are people too, and they come in all varieties. So, we're walking to the apartment, and there's this guy, and my girlfriend tells me, that's the guy. He's been stalking me. He's been breaking into the house. He's been stealing stuff. He's broken windows. He's been calling me and whatever, threatening me, being a creep. And I'm like, okay, great. And I really didn't know much about this guy, but I had seen him before. I asked her about him. She said, oh, I don't know who he is. But this night, she told me who he was. Actually, that's not true. She told me who he was another night because it had happened twice. And I was like, no, seriously, who the fuck is that guy staring at us? And then she told me. But, and I don't trust memory really well. Memory is super, super fragile. But traumatic memory actually is before I start saying stuff, let me verify it. Traumatic memory recall. Oh, how about this? Reliability of severe trauma memory recall. Let's see here. Yeah, this is childhood trauma. I'm looking for other stuff. Memory distortion of traumatic events. Effortful retrieval, unintentional remembering. So yeah, memory, grain of salt. What I remember is walking to the house, to the apartment, and there was a car there, and Vanessa told me the dude was there, and it was like kind of, we were close before we saw him, and she was like, oh my god, he's there. And what I remember is telling Travis to take the girls up the side ramp and get them in the apartment. But I was looking at the guy in the rearview mirror. Now that, whatever, how many seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, because I was about to go into full on like defense mode and kind of lose control of my cognitive processes. Not completely lose control, but you know, it's gonna get, like, my limbic system was kicking up and I was getting all of the chemicals, which affects, you know, it's like being high. It's like giving yourself a shot of fucking adrenaline and morphine and, you know, like a hot shot or whatever they call it. No, not a hot shot. Speedball. Because your brain is going to want to reduce pain and it's going to want to inflict pain. So there's adrenaline for defense and endomorphone for defense. And it gets you high. So any short period of time that you can have, be it from experience or training or whatever, that you can remain like in control of your cognitive ability, is going to be a jump or a step or move ahead of the aggressor in this case. And I saw that he saw me in the rearview mirror, and when I saw him in the rearview mirror and I saw that he looked panicked, I knew that I was ahead of him. And so Travis took the girls up the side. And he was when he saw that I saw him, he started grabbing stuff. I don't know what. Well, I know what later, but this was a matter of seconds or minutes. So when he turned, for what I hoped that he thought we were all going up the steps, because there was 3 of them walking up the steps. But I quickly walked up, and as they got up to the front of the apartment, they walked up the ramp. He came out with either the X-Acto blade or the straight razor, and said, "Vanessa," and tried to swing. And this is all memory, so grain of salt. I remember them squishing up against the wall and going up and getting the key and opening the door and getting inside, but the dude didn't realize that I was there. He thought I was there with him. He was maybe swinging at me, but I wasn't there. So I just used his momentum and slammed his wrist against the car, and then he was all twisted, and he was trying to poke at me with another blade, and I kicked him in the stomach in the car without getting cut, miraculously, and slammed his hand that was trying to cut me in the door and broke his other wrist. And at that point, he was in shock pretty quickly. And if I remember correctly, either Candace or Travis called the cops. LAPD showed up, and I looked like the bad guy because I had his blood on me. I wasn't hurt, and I had to put my hands up, get handcuffed, took statements, whatever. I don't remember why I started telling that story. Maybe it was just. Let me read back in the comments. Oh, fear is the mind killer. Yeah, even if you have a lot of experience, go watch on Facebook or YouTube or whatever people who have a lot of experience getting their ass whooped. But they've got a lot of experience fighting, and they've won a lot of fights. But never underestimate your opponent. That's my view, anyway. And domestic violence, seeking help, even in that situation, and I hate to say this, because even in that situation, that guy was the victim. He got sent to a mental ward. Vanessa, I don't remember if she filed charges or not. I don't think she did. But luckily she never ran into him again. Maybe breaking both of his wrists was enough for him to be like, oh, I'll leave her alone. Overcoming trauma from high control groups. How do you overcome trauma? Hey, Lydia, welcome. Brian, this quote has always resonated with me. I experienced a lot of fear as a kid. Dune was a scary movie for me when I was a kid. But there was something about Dune, especially that Paul Atreides, Fear is the Mind Killer. Like, I was drawn to watching it because Paul was fearless. And I admired that in that protagonist. So yeah, I would say, yeah, we'll wrap up the Dune segment here because I love the quote. It's so poetic. It fits the lore and Paul Atreides to a T. He's the kind of person that could do it, right, Whitney? Like you said, if only it was that simple. Well, Paul Atreides makes it look simple. Paul Atreides also made it look pretty simple to use sound waves as weapons with just like a piece of plastic, basically. Ha! I forget what the weapons were called. They were badass. That was another thing that attracted me to the movie was like, wow, they use sound as a weapon? The worms are what scared the shit out of me, the sandworms. And the teleporter guy that was exposed to it, who lived in the tank of sand, like he scared me. speaking of Dune, the trailer for the new Dune, I almost teared up because Christopher Walken is in it. How much longer do we have Christopher Walken? I don't know, but he's immortalized now in Dune. It's wrapped. I love Christopher Walken. If you haven't ever seen Fatboy Slim's video with him dancing in it, oh my god. Christopher Walken is just a class act. Kind of like Bernadette Peters. Oh, rebuilding and finding purpose. Share stories of people who've rebuilt their lives. Discuss challenges they faced and the steps they took to find purpose and happiness. Dinosaurs. I mean, can you imagine him in Dune? Oh my god. It's gonna be fucking epic. And that kid that plays Paul Atreides, I wasn't real happy with the casting at first because they cast him so young. And I also thought he was probably, I mean, this is just my own bias from being in Hollywood or whatever, like, you know, young actor. A lot of them are really cocky. But I ran into this dude on this comedy set. I don't remember the name of the movie, and it hasn't come out yet. It's the director is the girl from Zack and Miri Make a Porn, and I forget her name, but she's funny as hell, and the movie looks funny, and the whole set was hilarious, but he was here working on the set with somebody. I don't know why he was here, but he was here. I mean, he just did Dune, so he could be whatever, wherever he wants, probably. It's like, oh, I want to go hang out in New Orleans, and maybe him and that girl are friends. Maybe she auditioned him. I think he might have been in the movie. I don't know. Oh yeah. True Romance. Fucking amazing script. Amazing movie. Amazing actors. Amazing performance. Danny, no, not Danny. He's like one of my top 3. He played Zorg in Fifth Element. I can't think of his name right now. And he played the commissioner in Batman, and come on, help me out. One of my favorite actors because of his versatility. If you look at his roles, he can do fucking anything. Gary Oldman, thank you, Amy. Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman is sort of like a shapeshifter actor. I mean, he has played so many different things. Like, you were talking about a dynamic career in terms of roles. Like, oh, we need you to be this. Okay. And he fucking nails it. Oh, we need you to be this. Okay. And he fucking nails it. Daniel Day-Lewis has won more Academy Awards than probably any actor, I think. But he's only done 7 movies or 8 movies. He's probably, you know, Daniel Day-Lewis, yeah, and Gary Oldman. Like, those are 2 of my top. They're definitely in the top 3. Oh, you know that he played Sid Vicious. That's one of the roles that I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this because I don't want to ruin my my little illusion that Gary Oldman is a fucking like top tier actor. But yeah, I was not disappointed at all. I forget the name of that movie, but was it Sid and Nancy? Beach. Well, I don't have like a feature today, so and there's, you know, y'all probably know there's shit be going on, and I'm just trying to make sure that people are okay. Um, okay. Um, yeah, nothing yet. All right. Um, so, as for the whereabouts of somebody that if you know, uh, still don't know nothing yet, but should know something soon. Should know something soon. Stand by to stand by. Myths about high control groups. Address common misconceptions about high control groups. Provide accurate information to debunk these. Well, oh, I gotta provide accurate information? Fuck, I can't just provide information. Discuss the tactics used by these groups to manipulate and control their members. The more I read about like groups, the more I think about individuals. Because an individual can create a group dynamic by themselves that can then be like, how do I put this? Enforce is not the right word, but an individual who asserts enough authority with enough confidence and enough fear can get others to do the same. So it's kind of like the leadership quote that John Quincy Adams says, if your actions inspire others to do more, be more, or achieve more, you are a leader. Roger that, bitch. Glad to see you. So the individual that can do this, say, someone like LRH, someone like, I don't know, Joel Osteen, the pioneer guy, Mormon dude, Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Joseph, I don't know, David Miscavige. These are the big names. But they're not all the actors. I mean, the odds are, if y'all are hanging out with me, y'all probably know some of the smaller B actors, C actors, that are just like them. Thank you, Amy. Joseph Smith. And they can do the same amount of damage to people on a smaller scale, in a more controlled, like isolated, separated environment. And just like leaving a group. When you leave that environment, well, now you're the enemy. And this is something that can happen in families that are abusive, and then they just say, oh, you're a black sheep. You're just a black sheep. You're not like one of us. You take everything too seriously. You're too emotional. I don't see the point in repeating the same things over and over again or rehashing things. You know, I got that comment from my eldest brother. You know, because my mother told me that, you know, they talked, and his he said, you know, Mom, when he talks to me about Ira, I just get upset and I feel bad for him, and it makes me feel terrible. So, you know, when I talked to him, I told him, I was like, man, it is not my intention to make you feel bad, you know? He's like, well, I just don't see, you know, what good does it do rehashing the past? You know, it's over, it's done. And I wish I'd have had the cleverness on the spot to think of this, but I thought about it later. It was one of those things where you're like, oh, I should have said that. This isn't rehashing. This is the initial hash. It's just been that many years of not hashing. So, and it's overwhelming to him, and if it's overwhelming to him, you know, it's overwhelming. It's overwhelming to me too. And I definitely don't want to add, you know, any suffering or whatever. But sometimes whenever, you know, friends or family, like, you know, oh, you're my brother, or you're my sister, or you're my mom, or you're my dad, I can talk to you about stuff. If there's something you need to talk to me about, you can talk to me about it. Well, you know, if it's something like that, and it's sort of like, well, I'm not comfortable talking about that. Well, then, that's really too bad. It's really too bad. As I don't really feel like I'm rehashing anything. And in many cases, these were the things he didn't even know about. So this is hashing. Yeah. Amy Jean, it's not over and done with if it's still causing someone pain. Nikarasu, it could be someone that failed at building a natural camaraderie with someone that's looking to enrich themselves without working for it. Could be someone that enjoys playing mind games. Could be someone that failed at building natural camaraderie. Or someone that is just looking to enrich themselves without working for it. Well, yeah. I think you and I have talked about, and you may know some of the, you know, I guess traits of my eldest brother, but you know, what was it? To addressing common misconceptions. Yeah, and this says about control groups, but you know, also individuals. So misconceptions about groups or individuals Discuss the tactics used by them to manipulate and control others. I'm going to be honest, I don't feel comfortable discussing that specific thing. I've all the way up until now, talking about my conversation with my brother has been fine. But, discussing the tactics, that specific stuff, in that situation, no, we're going to find another way to approach that. Tactics used by high control people or groups. High control. I love this. In this, in the internets, kids now have access, and I know because my kids know so much about so much. I wish I'd have known or been able to Google stuff like this. But this is great. Here's 25 signs of being involved with a high control group or person. So, number one, there's an opposition to critical thought. An opposition to critical thought. There it is. Let's just scroll. Let's doom scroll together. Self-doubt is encouraged. Magical thinking is prevalent. Leaders claim to have special insight or supreme knowledge. High control person is authoritarian, charismatic, and narcissistic. Everybody's narcissistic. It's a matter of, is it malignant and is it a problem? Is it a person? Is it? And it's incredibly difficult to diagnose. But yes, it is easy to see narcissistic traits. Once you know what you're looking for, I guess. But the problem I run into is that it's like once you know narcissistic traits, or once I've learned this stuff, then it's a constant like, oh, is everything I'm doing a narcissistic thing? Because, and I think that's part of why it's so hard to fucking diagnose, because everybody has self-interest. Self-interest is not narcissism. Excessive self-interest and then exclusively self-interested is not good. That's like heavy narcissism. Leaders are not accountable to other authorities. No shit. They are draconian and intrusive, or there are draconian and intrusive rules for members. Yeah. You're in or you're out. Follow the rules. But the leaders are above the law. So do as I say, not as I do. The flow of information is subject to censorship and control. Let's see what we got here. Wish we had Google in the 80s. Yeah. Oh my God. What if? Can you think about... Yeah, I'm not much into like generational culture. To me, it's all like human beings from different, born in different timelines. Different things happen during your life that shape the way you look at the world. And each generation or each micro generation, whatever. When you're born, some shit's gonna happen throughout your life, some fucked up shit. And they're gonna have cameras on it. Oh, they're blowing up the Gaza Strip. The spaceship exploded with a teacher in it. What else? I don't know. There's hurricanes. There's earthquakes killing thousands of people. Then there's people flying planes into buildings. Or setting demolition charges to blow the buildings up while the planes fly into them to set off the chain reaction. Whatever. So... What if Google was around when Christianity started? I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's Google it. What if Google was around when Christianity started? And maybe we should prompt ChatGPT to, let's see here. If Christianity came about in the internet age, would it still have been believed? This is like just a bunch of random people on the internet. But let's see. This guy's an engineer, hypnotherapist, and healer. Interesting combination. Does he have a full answer, or is that a response? I think maybe GPT might be a better option for this. All right. What if Google, and this isn't going to be a very well thought out prompt. What if Google, what up, bruh? Done been done. Done been done did, homie. What if Google was around when Christianity started? Did I not spell Christianity right? Christ. Ianity. Oh, is it need to be it needed to be capitalized. Okay. What can you extrapolate a scenario with known biblical context please? Thank you. Certainly, let's engage in a bit of speculative fiction here. It's the first century AD and the world is a vastly different place. Imagine if Google or a similar technology existed during the time when Christianity was just starting to emerge. You could write a script off of this, I'm telling you. All right, 10 points. Jesus' teachings on the internet. Jesus, instead of preaching to crowds on hillsides, might use online platforms to spread his teachings. Imagine him creating YouTube videos of his sermons or live streaming his discussions. 2. The birth of Christianity on social media. Apostles like Peter and Paul might have Twitter accounts sharing snippets of Jesus' teachings, engaging in debates, and connecting with followers. The hashtag Kingdom of God could trend globally. Digital miracles and viral content. Miracles performed by Jesus could become viral sensations on social media, healing the sick, turning water into wine, all captured on camera phones, shared widely, sparking debates and discussion. Virtual pilgrimages. Instead of physically traveling to hear Jesus speak, people from around the world might participate in virtual pilgrimages, joining online communities to discuss their experiences. 5. Google searches on Messiah prophecies. People might use search engines to validate the prophetic aspects of Jesus' life, searching for Old Testament verses that align with his actions and mission. Debates on theological forms could be common. 6. Religious debates in online forums. Theological debates between early Christians and adherents of other belief systems could take place on platforms similar to Reddit or dedicated religious forums. 7. Spread of the gospel through digital advertising. Early Christian communities might use targeted digital advertising to spread the message. Imagine pop-up ads with messages like, "Repent, for the kingdom of God is near," appearing on Roman websites. This is like Monty Python to me. Online persecution and martyrdom. Persecution of Christians, instead of being localized, could become more widely known as news spreads globally through digital channels. Stories of martyrs might be shared widely, inspiring more people to join the faith. 9. Digital Bible versions. Instead of handwritten scrolls, the Bible might be compiled and distributed in digital formats. The accessibility of Scripture would be unprecedented, allowing people from different regions to read and discuss the teachings easily. And 10. The Council of Nicaea live streamed. The historic Council of Nicaea, where early Christian leaders defined key aspects of the faith, might be live streamed with global participation through global digital communication. This speculative scenario highlights how the advent of technology like Google and the internet could have impacted the spread and development of Christianity in its early days. Keep in mind this is purely imaginative, and the nature of historical events is complex and multifaceted. Let me go back, because that comment stuck out like a sore thumb. Witness what is normal. Even further. Nick, I feel like I had misconceptions. I feel like misconceptions require some kind of normal baseline for what we think of as being high control groups or individuals. Seems like a complex thing to unwrap. Yeah. Misconceptions require some kind of normal baseline for what we think of as being high control groups or individuals. It's going to vary from individual to individual, I think. Yeah, because there is no baseline. There's no normal. Don't know if that's what you meant by that, but definitely it's not, I'm no authority on the matter. It's all relative to me. Pre and post WWW is a big deal for me as a person who was there. Whitney, how old are you, Whitney? Are you about in your 40s? Were you an 80s kid? I mean, it's not a huge deal for me because I've had to keep up with it. But what I do kind of miss is sort of like the before time, where everything wasn't constantly connected all the time. Disclosure. Witness. I became enraged yesterday when someone said Elon invented the internet. So much illogical and wrong information out there. On that point, this is something that politicians, one in particular, really nailed it and got himself elected. Fake news is everywhere. It's true. But when you use the primacy effect in a campaign, that's what TRUMP did. And that's what all campaigns are. It's a primacy thing. Primacy. You're repeating something. Repeat. Until everyone's like, yeah. It's like that. Yeah, this is what we need. But in this case, it was that there was no truth. But that's not true. There is truth. Elon Musk did not invent the internet, and neither did Al Gore. Bell Labs. There's more than one person. And then they were like, kind of like what Mark Zuckerberg did with Facebook. They were like, oh yeah, taking this shit. I remember I was in Nashville when South Central Bell closed. It was in 2000, and AT&T took over. Well, what the hell, Lydia? Phone calls in the middle of everything? No, can't have it. Roman websites sound like my kind of thing. I bet they do. Will the revolution will be televised? Question mark. The revolution will not be televised. I wish, let's see, I was there when Mosaic was developed, and oh, okay, yeah. My uncle was into that. Milnet, yeah, I don't know. All right, like touched on almost every one of the 3 out of the 5. This is the one I've done these features already. This is not the new sheet. Where's the new sheet? Beach. Where'd that new sheet? Probably out of reach. Oh yeah, surgeries. Cool. Facet injections. Okay. Hmm. I can't think of any myths, really, about high control groups in general. Like, I can think of myths about Scientology or Catholicism or Mormon stuff a little. But I kind of like to just strip it down to what it is without the religious stuff, because it's the same damn thing. What happens in these exempt churches, I'm not saying all, but most, probably most, is the same kind of abuse that occurs in many households and in criminal syndicates, syndicated crime. So it's not a matter of whether it's the religious part is just, I guess for me, moot point. Okay, there's a religion attached to this coercive high control group that is harming people. Domestic sexual assault, mind fucking. And, you know, I think there is a precedent set. It's probably not a good one, but from the Manson trials, about, you know, what it is you're able to do to a person's mind. Like, because they convinced the jury that he was in control of these women. He had that much undue influence. And it's funny, he did some Scientology and some acid. And probably, you know, did some kind of weird, what they would call in Scientology, mixed practice stuff. And ran auditing on people. Therapy, counseling, whatever. While on these drugs. And the thing is, though, like, you can do it without the drugs. You can do it with sleep deprivation, food deprivation, and overwork. If you put drugs in there too, oh my God, you've got, yeah, like, it's no wonder that, you know, when they showed up in the court, those three girls are just, you know, they had not a care in the world. Oh, Amy. Myths. As in, only dumb people fall for high control groups. How did I miss that? For some reason, that's not. Oh, man. What the hell? Damn guy. I was looking at top chat instead of live chat. So, yeah. That's the one that, oh, yeah, you must be stupid. You know, the the first video about Scientology I did, I kept saying, I feel so stupid, I feel so stupid, I feel so stupid, I'm so stupid, so stupid. Because I felt stupid. because there was really no one that I could talk to that would hear what I was about to say and not be like, at multiple points in the story, be like, well, why did you do that? Why did this? Why did you do that? That was stupid. Why did you, man? What the fuck? What is wrong with you? There was no way to communicate that. So a blank face screen, phone, whatever, uh, to whoever would listen. You know, they can't interrupt me. Now y'all can. But back then you couldn't. There'd be comments. And I could look at the comment and be like, are you Osa? There was some of that, not much. But it was obvious when it was. Blatantly obvious. Which was nice because I didn't have to do, like nowadays, they're a little more cautious. You know, at that time, there wasn't as many, I guess, threats. So when one popped up, they were a little more aggressive to try to really bully you into shutting the fuck up. Yeah, Amy, you know, if you go through the comment section on that video, there's so many people that say that. And I got over feeling stupid. And the support and comments really actually helped. Because though there may not have been anyone in my immediate environment that would have understood what I'd been through, being able to go plug in to the Virtua, to the Matrix, into all y'all's worlds, increases chances of... I still haven't finished the book, but serendipity. The serendipity mindset. It's a good book. I'm halfway through it. That's one thing I wanted to do, the book reviews of the 3 books I read this year. I only read 3 books this year, but they were good ones. It was The Anatomy of Anxiety, which was a 2022 book, and really retro looking cover, retro 80s. And then The Power of Regret, How Looking Backwards Helps Move Us Forward. What's up, Inquad? Got these. Inca. Sorry, Inca. I've been saying quad. There's no U in there. I agree on the legal and social effect by Manson's case. It also showed the resistance of some of those women to consider Manson under undue influence. They blamed just the drugs. Yeah. Different time. And yeah. I do believe that at some point, you know, there may have already been. Honestly, there may have already been. I know there are cases of like coercion, like, you know, in court, like, you know, where someone had to defend something they did because they were being, you know, under extreme coercion. So, but there's a certain point where the coercion is, it's not even coercion anymore. It's like this um, non-consenting uh, compliance. Due to the extreme circumstances that individual is put in. Um, Fear is the mind killer. It applies there because if you're in an extreme circumstance under a massive amount of control and you're threatened constantly, then then I would say you would be you could be or find yourself in a position of unconsenting compliance. I can give you an example. It's kind of silly, but I got Juliet Lewis to come to the opening in a private tour of the Melrose mission, and I was in the mission when that occurred, but I was told to stay in my office. And she was there asking about me. She asked for me by name. And I was told before she was going to arrive a few minutes, and was told to go in my office and slide the door shut and do not come out. And if I came out, I would be in HCO. So, I listened as she walked up the stairs and was like, I'm looking for Marcus. Is Marcus here? And I'm thinking, that's fucking Juliet Lewis saying my fucking name. I just want to open the door and be like, I'm here. You know, welcome. Let me give you a tour of the place. Now, Kathy made it really ominously clear that she was not fucking with me. And that if I opened that door or even made a sound from the office, other than papers shuffling or writing, that I would be in heavy ethics because there's a policy. She mentioned a policy about handling celebrities and high crimes and some other shit. So, you know, I was it was really that I feel like that was unconsenting compliance, because I really does that make sense? Unconsenting compliance. Like, I really didn't agree with that, but I just was not going to be out of compliance. And it sucked really bad. I was really fucking pissed. I met her brother, and he was kind of an asshole, and she was really nice. And yeah, I mean, who knows? Could have jammed, played some music. Might have been her guitar player. Anyways, that's all ancient history. Point is the unconsenting compliance. Another example is, I guess, whenever, say, CPS gets called on somebody, like it did on Ira in, 1995. They showed up and they're like, is he beating you? It's pretty much what they asked. They were laughing about it. Course, I said no. I feel like that's another example of unconsenting compliance. Like, internally, you don't feel right about it. So, like, that is the aspect of consent I'm talking about. Like, you're not even, your consent, you're violating your own consent and complying with someone else's, whatever, desire. Now, last 15 minutes here, I've been, keeping it pretty regular. Um, I'm looking for more ideas and things to talk about. I do need to go back and put thumbnails on all my old videos and make it a lot easier. Not old videos, but the ones I've recently broadcast where I was reviewing older videos and I don't have on the thumbnail which video it was. It would make it very much easier for everyone to see what the topic of the video is about if that is visibly displayed on the thumbnail, and I'm aware of that. I'm just a lazy graphic designer, and I usually have way better people working on graphics than me, and I'm accustomed to being like, yeah, here's the album art, here's this art, here's that art, and I'm lucky and I'm spoiled in that regard by John Landry, who you should definitely, if you like photography, there's a couple photographers I would recommend checking out. John Landry Photography, which I think might be John Landry Photo on Instagram. John Landry Photo Insta. I don't do Insta really, but I'm about to do some OnlyFans dressers. Here we go, John Landry Photo. So this guy's pretty, this is the guy that is a friend of mine, but we use him for, and he does a lot of photography for Octane Sound and all of the Delta Gold Media stuff and shows. Says my password's incorrect. Well, to hell with you, man. That's the incorrect password anyway. Log in with Facebook? I don't know. Piss off. Alright. And then, well, how am I on my page and not logged in? See, this is why I don't like Instagram. Well, we've been waiting this whole time, Lydia, for you. So now we can continue for the next 10 minutes. Let me check my phone, see if I got any messages. Yeah, I use OBS and I like it, but it's hard for people that are used to using StreamYard to, like, I send them a link to the Video Ninja and they're like, this is weird and I don't know, I don't like it. And I can see you and I can hear you, but it's just not the same. And I know what it is. It's the visual aspect. It's a pretty UI. It's easy to use. Like, there's buttons for you to click. In Video Ninja, it's sort of, more of an engineer. Like, they're afraid to touch anything. They're like, whoa, what do I touch? I don't want to mess anything up. And there's a whole control room and everything that's similar. So, but the guests don't have to deal with that, but it's as simple as like any phone can connect. I show you. I did a broadcast earlier working on the set list, and here's what it looks like on the other channel. But I'm going to connect my phone and show you how that works, because it's really easy. You know, it's actually probably easier than StreamYard. Join room with camera. Turn on the side thingy. And I do have to grab, this is on my end, but that's not a problem because it's on my end. You don't have to worry about it. I go to the control room right here. Oh, it's already open somewhere else. Where is it? Explode? Oh, it's not going to work without the right mic. Okay, is it in this one? Nope. Is it in this one? Yeah, here we go. So, refresh. Okay, so now I'm in my control room. Press start. Mute everything, and then turn it. And this could be, oh, I have to, sorry, forgot my end. Copy the link to the clipboard and then go in here to the guest and replace one link with the other. Hit enter, and then yeah, something like that. You know, see stuff. But this could be any phone, like, you know, any phone. You just go to the Discord link. Because, you know, I might be running out of shit to talk about. Might have to start talking to y'all about some of y'all's shit. My HCG was political? What is a HCG? Anyways, I wanted to show y'all that. It's really quite easy, quick, and simple. You can do it through your webcam and your mic too. So, woo! Disconnect. Disconnect. All right. Back to the front. So, HCG was political. I always figured that he tested his members for ages first with things like creepy crawling to ascertain. Oh my goodness. What is an HCG, Lydia? What that is? It's 12 o'clock. It's like my therapist. It's like, yeah, we go a few. I mean, you know, no rush. Oh, hi control group. I'm an idiot. Inca, thank you. Your high control group was political. Yeah. There's a Netflix documentary. I think it's called Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm not 100% sure. But it's about a political high control group. Um, and a particular person who has, like, she went viral for having a fit in a supermarket, and and became sort of like a spokesperson for this group. And oh man, was it hateful and vitriolic and toxic and all this stuff. And then she realized what, like, she had to choose between her family or the whole high control group. Her husband said, it's either your family or this bullshit. And she chose the bullshit. I love cold water. Um, and then her life, well, maybe not so obviously, her life collapsed around her. But for probably obvious reasons. I mean, she had children, she had a husband. The people in her control group started to malign her. And when that started happening, you know, she felt more compelled to do better for the group until they had just sucked every bit of life out of her. So, Lydia von Stretchclaw, kudos, congratulations, welcome, bienvenue to Joie de Vivre. You can have that again. And doesn't that make you happy? Just a little bit? I mean, we're not always happy. We go through a range of emotions. That's what we are, emotional creatures. We have the capacity for it. Intelligent creatures that can be emotional and hurt. But doesn't it fucking feel good to just to know that you don't have to fucking do that anymore or believe that anymore, and you have the freedom to do what you want without fear of reprisal from some peer or senior, master, Lord, Savior, whatever. I don't think I knew that about you. But thank you for sharing that, and fucking welcome. I don't know how long ago it was. Could have been fucking 20 years ago, but that's good. I bet you're a lot better off. Huh. Yeah. And your comment about, I always figured that he tested his members for ages first with things like creepy crawling. And I'm not sure what you mean exactly by creepy crawling to ascertain who he could best control, but there's a lot of sexual predators in these kind of groups because of the high control, because they can control it. They believe they can. When it really comes down to it, it's kind of like, I mentioned this performance last week. It's kind of like Dave Chappelle says about that book Pimp that was written by Iceberg. This hoe is good for 498 tricks, and then you pull this one last trick on her, and then she's good for another 200. And you can play that game for decades till you die. All right, I knew this was going to come up. Bo Beats, how you doing? You're not interrupting. We're coming to a close here. Um, have I gotten any info on Doug, and is he okay? I have not gotten any info about Doug and where he is. Um, I've gotten information from some people in Ventura who were not Scientologists who did me a favor. There were never ends. So props. Thank you, never ends. To check out and make contact with his mother. And I called him yesterday and left a message. And, it was pretty much like, hey, I know we didn't part on the best of terms, but people are concerned. He promised me, this was a promise that he made me. I'm glad, I don't know why he made the promise, but, this, it was, he said he wasn't going to kill himself. And he said if he did, if he ended up dead, that he didn't do it. But yeah, the information that I have, I don't have much. But I do know that his mother called him. I don't know if he answered. Yeah. The thing about going to his home, now here's today, it's been 7 days, so, any of the Studio City zip codes would probably be within the postal code thereabouts to find him. Like if I pulled up a zip code, and I do have a number to call. I have his phone number and I have his name. Now, do you try to put yourself in my position here. Doug and I did not part on good terms at all, right? And I'm not going to get into the specifics of it because Doug's a victim, and I love Doug, and I want him to get help. But think about this. If he found out that I had called to have a welfare check after not having spoken to him for 3 months, I don't know what kind of state of mind he's in. And I, police are going to, or the landlord would have the police come with them to check on him. If he's in a bad mental state of mind, all number of things could go wrong. Or it could be, something like, I think it's called 5150 or 5250, where it's a 3-day hold or a 7-day psychiatric hold. I'm lost with the Dana. I don't even know who Dana is. So that's the information that I have. I can't Well, I can, but I have to be careful. I want to be careful about, what I disclose. I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to protect Doug and potentially myself. Because if you put yourself in my position, if Doug is not in a good state of mind and he's fucking pissed at me, which he was, extremely, um, and then I'm the person that gets him 5150 or 5250 in a psych ward, he's not going to be very, well, I mean, if it comes between that and, I could, look, this might sound callous, but if Doug doesn't want to talk to me for the rest of his life, that's okay. What matters to me is that he's okay. And he hasn't been okay. That's my perspective. And he has plenty of fucking reason to not be okay, in my opinion, as well. But I have encouraged him go talk to somebody. And that person was me. But that wasn't fair. So, and that was where I made my mistake. After his father died, I brought my boundary in a little. I let him come into my boundaries, and then after, because his dad died, he said he didn't have anyone to talk to. So, when you're getting calls late at night and random times, and the phone won't stop ringing unless you answer it, I had to draw a line. My therapist told me to, and we had 2 weeks left before I was going to go on a break, and we were going to take a break from Backflash. And it was 2 weeks to the day. So basically 2 weeks before the last broadcast, another broadcaster started talking to Doug. And I believe that person manipulated Doug. And I think Doug maybe had his channel hacked, because he was accusing me of having removed comments and shadow ban stuff like that, which I didn't do. I never had admin on his website, on his YouTube. So, anyways, point is, I would like to see Doug get help, and I would also like to see Doug again. And I'm afraid that if I call this in, maybe I call it in anonymously. I don't know. But who has his number? He keeps track of this. Doug is a smart guy. I don't know who Dana is. Okay. Basically saying ZDT owes her a lot of money. She is losing her home and has cancer with no money for med treatment. She did not ask for money. I just feel like we're all out here fighting this big cult when there's two people who may need our help that are right beside us. It's about 6 years ago now. What was? I mean, literally, Bo. I've been waiting for texts to get confirmation on things. And but some people are at work, you know. They're they're they have regular work days, not like Scientology. They don't know what the Scientology stuff is all about. They're just kind of like wanting to help, right? Yeah, witness. They're in contact, but I don't know if she was able to reach him last night, and that's where we're at. And we're waiting to find out. And until then, oh, Dana is ZDT's researcher. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't watch Zero Dark Tony. I watched 12, 13 minutes of his first or second broadcast. And when he started attacking victims, that's when I just closed the tab. I don't believe in that. I did do a video years ago that Doug really liked called The Freak Show. I will not be part of it. And that I did that, I think after I went and met Aaron and Mike and Claire and Mark briefly in Clearwater with Brenda Turing, who is a subscriber here, who, you know, still a mod. She busy in life and stuff, but she flew down here and drove my ass to Clearwater. And because she wanted, and she said, she wanted to go too. So why not bring me with her? And Nathan Rich and some other people. So I met all these people. And I don't believe in, even with, look, again with the Dave Chappelle, you're going to have imperfect allies when you're fighting. I mean, look at World War II, right? Is Russia a great ally? Well, maybe when you're invading Berlin and you need them to just go and blitz the whole thing while you're, you know, going up into the wherever, Eagle's Nest and invading the Pacific. Not all the allies are, you know, good people. They're not executing necessarily, from unit to unit in a war. And I'm drawing a parallel to war here, yeah. It's like spiritual warfare in a way. And so you're going to have imperfect allies, is what I'm saying. So I don't, like, no matter what you say about, or what I think about anybody who has their own thing going. Everyone who is out there on a platform, on a social media platform, who is helping get people out or telling their stories, and and continues to be a more positive, net positive platform. I can't attack them. I won't even attack Zero Dark Tony. I just don't like what he does. I don't think attacking victims and victimizing victims and doing turncoat stuff like what I've heard he's done. So let me clarify, in case I'm quoted or something, that I do not know most of what ZDT has said or done, or if he's done any turncoat type stuff. All right, I don't know, and I don't really care. Um, I'm robotic. I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, I answered your question as best I could, Bo Beats. I'm sorry I'm robotic. Um, Doug is my friend, and I am concerned about him. And as far as EDT goes, I really, like with many others, it's not just ZDT. I don't, I do other things than, I don't watch a lot of this stuff. I still haven't watched the Aftermath. I don't need to. Like, I know half the people on there. I've talked to them about shit that's happened. So I know, and all it does is upset me. Oh, you mean like the codec? Because that might be a Wi-Fi thing for you. If you're on public Wi-Fi or out and about, it might be breaking up. Because I'm streaming, I'm showing 6 kbps up, which is pretty high for audio and video. I could go up to 10K, but during the day, uh, yeah, there's too much traffic. I tried 10K upstream, but didn't work out. Y'all, don't be like that. That was just a misunderstanding. For real. I think that was just a misunderstanding. Like, robotic. Uh, I didn't. Text is. You can't. It's. Context is hard to get in text. So, if it was a comment about the stream or the broadcast, yeah. Uh, I don't think it was a. I hope it wasn't. And I really don't think it was a dig at me, like saying I'm robotic. But if it was, I wouldn't take it as an offense anyway. I'm a biological robot. Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So, Bobeat says, my voice was sounding weird on stream, echoing and vibrating. I love you, man. You're not a robot, lol. Yeah, okay. Gotcha. Well, like I said, it's not like I said, like Dave Chappelle said. We will find ourselves among imperfect allies. But they're allies. And that's why I don't, I say it all the time. Cynthia, talk shit, get hit. I don't hit her. She doesn't talk shit. But I do say she is talking shit when she's not saying. I'll just be like, you talking shit? You know what happens when you talk shit? And she'll humor me. What? What happens? All right. So I guess Bo, if you're like out and about and in town and on a bad cell tower, that could be causing the robotic sound. Uh, but uh, six or I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, four other people. They might be on desktops. I don't know if they're on mobile. Put an X in chat if you're put an X in chat if you're on a mobile phone. X in chat if you're on a mobile phone. X up. Mobile phone, X up. Just throw an X up. Okay, Bo. It's fine. You didn't bother me at all. I'm hard to bother. It takes a lot. I have to deal with Floyd Iverly Sawyer. You ain't bothering me. um, but yeah, I am curious though, like who's on mobile and who's on desktop. X up if you're on desktop. Throw an X in chat. Throw them up. All right, desktop. If you can't get to the thing, that's fine. But all right, 2 desktops. Puff puff pass. Hey, that's a good idea. I really do. I feel like Bo is emotional. I am too. It's been welling up for quite some time. To be quite honest, I really am worried about Doug. You know, and he promised me that, you know, if he ended up dead, it wasn't suicide. And I was thinking about it, you know, this picture right underneath me. My friend Charlie, he drew that a couple months before he died. He killed himself. He hung himself in Sulphur jail. And he promised me. He promised me. He wouldn't. Wi-Fi pad and mobile. Is it good on mobile? I mean, I'm all about improving the quality of the broadcast for sure. I guess maybe it was the lack of apostrophe and the quick typing that made it seem like it was sort of might have been a dig. I can talk like a robot if that's what we want to do. But I can't do Microsoft Sam. And I won't do Microsoft Sam. I won't do it. Yeah, this is like normally Mondays. It's like start out the week right. You know, it's just a like upward positive motion. This week feels like it might be a bad week. Here's some possibilities. Could be that he got evicted. And he's too embarrassed, or he doesn't have a way to broadcast. Essentially, the way I'm looking at it, trying to be logical, is that utilities got shut off, he got evicted, and we just don't know where he's at. And he doesn't want to do like a broadcast from a phone, or maybe his phone got shut off too. I don't know. So, thanks, Lydia. I really do love the guy. I really do. And I told him, if you're gonna be broadcasting this kind of stuff, like, get out of L.A. Get out of L.A. because that is epicenter for environmental fuckery. A lot of people say OSA, 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 OSA. Not everybody's OSA. Some people are just doing their jobs and they're being paid by OSA, and they don't really give two shits. Is that still technically OSA because it's employed by OSA? Yeah. But in LA, that's their turf. They can, in New York too, what they're capable of doing is immensely fucking crazy. Let me see if I can find the Helena Ulentz videos and give you an example of somebody who spoke out not long after I did, around 2017, after my interview with Aaron. Again, allies, imperfect, okay? Let me see here. Ulentz. Is this it? Where's the links? Alright, so I'm going to drop these links for y'all. I'm going to give you a little backstory as to what this girl did and what I think may have happened to her as a result. Her name's Helena Ulentz, is what she goes by. These are unlisted videos, but she was being fair gamed with sound emitters and people following her and going to the coffee shops and everywhere she went and mentioning things about her case, things she said in auditing sessions, in public spaces where 50% of the people in the Starbucks were OSA or hired by OSA. This seems extraordinary and unlikely to many people when she published it. She was being highly discredited the moment she started posting. She talked about going into an audition room, being examined by a doctor. This was all around the time Tom Cruise was looking for a new wife. And what ultimately happened was she lost custody of her kids. She was booked into a psych ward called schizophrenic, and then unlisted her videos and renamed her channel to Creative Writing Lab and said, I'm an actress and I made all this up to see what the reaction would be. But also, she changed and edited her videos in a certain way, but they're still all unlisted. But she sent me this email along with the writing. There's a link. Bookmark it. These are unlisted. And when you have the time, if you have the desire, oh, that's the same link. Alright, that's one link. It's part 1. Part 2. Oops. Part 3. And let's see, part 4. Yep. I don't know. I know that it's just, this is why I say I cannot keep up with it all. This has been so much for so long. Um, Also went by the name of Romy Erickson. Here's in part 5. Okay. And there's a document that she sent along with it. But here's the thing. The oh goodness. So let's look at this shit. Fuck it. Why not? Just waiting on a phone call on a Monday. Looks like someone's got a case of the Mondays. Man, you say that where I work, you get your ass kicked. Alright. The story that inspired the shadow of David. A lot of this is seemingly code. Right? I don't know how the fuck they treat these people that are being vetted for these celebrities. They might combine literature with Scientology stuff and not do standard Scientology because they want to be able to say, oh, no, they're not Scientology, they're squirrel. They were never involved. Part 1. I mean, are y'all with me for this? Because if not, we can do it another time. I mean, the videos are there, so those are unlisted. You can view them, but are y'all here with me for this document? 7 parts. And this is, to me, it's a mix of truth and like hidden messages through whatever you want to call it, subtext, foreshadowing, stuff like that. All right, y'all are with me. I haven't read this in years. And when I think about watching it in real time, I still get kind of chills. It was very, very disturbing what was going on with Helena Ulens, or Romy Erickson, whatever her name is. And she, there's one video I don't think exists anymore where she's saying, look, I don't want to have anything to do with the ex-Scientologists. I don't have any interest in the... She didn't name names, but she was talking about Aaron Smith Levin. She was talking about Leah Remini and all that. She didn't want to have anything to do with it. So here, I'm just going to read this. This is something that she wrote around that time. In November 1999, Part 1, In Love with Paranoia. I met a gentleman from the South who I suspect was a Scientologist. He had kept talking about an extraordinary technology that cured him miraculously. He had barely any furniture in his apartment, which is a common trait amongst Scientologists. I suspect Scientology can potentially abuse anyone they feel is suppressive or PTS, even when the individual is unrelated to the church. That is true. At that time, I began receiving a repeated message in a chat room communication. Quote, a bad apple must be removed or it will make other apples also bad. End quote. The things I suspect the church did at that time as part of fair game. Number 1, massive amount of wrong number calls. Number 2, many of those calls directly from the church. Number 3, suspected hacking of my computer. Number 4, And let me just say, I have experienced all three of these things, just those first three, within the first 3 or 4 years of me leaving. Um, number five, or no, number four, calling, requesting for people with identical names as the characters in my stories. Now, that might seem silly, but when you are running what they call in Scientology running a case on somebody, in other words, putting them in an auditing chair, sit down in that chair, and interrogating them about all kinds of things, things that are made up, things that are real, things that are imaginary, things that you dream about, uh, things that you think are past life experiences, maybe real past life experiences. Who the fuck knows, right? We don't know shit. But this is a psychological fear tactic to scare someone. It may seem benign, but they knew that's what they do. They learn exactly what buttons to press. So calling, requesting for people with identical names as the characters in my stories. 5. Repeated stalking by individuals obnoxiously close in the streets. 6. Hostile verbal attacks in public places by strangers. I've seen that in LA. 7. Overwhelmingly kind approaches by people in the street like I was famous. Another mindfuck type deal. 8. Suspected complaining about one's services at work, which has got me fired multiple times. Here. 9. Daily drive-bys of old noisy cars and honking on my usually dead-end quiet street. Here, no honking horns. The vehicles weren't necessarily too loud, but it was a dead-end street. There was really no... Anyways. Here, 10. Twice removed bugs from home that I suspected increased outdoor noise inside my home with higher frequency. Now, this is something that I never saw proof of, and she never provided proof of. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but I never saw proof of it, but I wouldn't doubt it. So far, like 7 out of 11 of these I've experienced myself. 11. Online and physical stalking, often repeating back information from my auditing sessions and personal phone calls. Stalking, yes. I don't know about... This is what she experienced. 12. Knocking or buzzing on my door at any time of day or night. She lived in New York in a big apartment complex. Similar to LA, you might see a crime happen and people just laughing. No one gives a shit in LA. This big apartment building. They're actually probably going to get mad at her. 13. Use of auditing techniques by stalkers, such as positive reinforcements, twinning, distortion of ARC, that's affinity, reality, and communication. Applications of MEST, matter, energy, space, time. Number 14, insane amount of door slamming noise in a New York high-rise for years that made any attempt to think, work, or sleep impossible. The patterns described were constant, daily, nonstop, and horrifying. Much more that is too technical and lengthy to explain in a post. I contacted an investigator recently, and he briefly checked out my case, confirming by email that my suspicions were correct. I informed him I was under tremendous stress, which he shrugged off. He had real evidence of my harassment, but he chose not to help me. For a long time, I believed the overwhelming attention was good because I couldn't imagine why anyone, for whatever reason, would try to hurt me so insistently. My family was occasionally wrongfully accused by me of the madness that was going on. In other words, her family, she was trafficked here from somewhere, maybe Ukraine, Eastern Bloc. So who knows with this? Like, her family could have been trafficked. They're telling her she's crazy, or her family could still be back home. They're saying you even went to America and lost your mind. Yeah, Lydia, bingo. I saw her videos, and this is what I thought. This is like Milgram Ash type shit, psychological terrorism. Um, she said, I am an obsessive recorder of events through journals, logs, videos, etc. Through the years, I pieced together how they were harassing me and identified the application of reverse processing. Because I often felt their actions producing a deep trance-like unconsciousness. But it wasn't until August to November 2016 in which my contact with the Church of Scientology was plagued with issues that I simply wouldn't drop as I attempted to pursue truth. I still want the truth. I continue to insist upon the truth. Why target me? Why? Both day and evening chaplains informed me that what I described as experienced was black propaganda because I was probably considered a suppressive, potential trouble source, and I was communicating negatively about the church, such as in my poetry, The Shadow of David, and photography, Aliens. Both projects, as most of my online work, is based on my personal experiences. They forgot to mention that ethics asked that I sell my own home in 2006 and give them all the money to go clear, which I wouldn't. The issue is that I dragged my very troubled self into Scientology in 2004 after constant stalking of church kids with freedom words in their pamphlets. I walked into the very building that I suspect caused me troubles I was trying to resolve. Funny how they work. I suspect that whoever visits this church will be confining their minds with a technology that can and will be used in reverse. Ron Hubbard's church technology can be used to lead their enemies to insanity or to commit suicide by fair game. Publicly, I have never spoken against suspected organization of Scientology, but now I will not stop because I believe that it's a very dangerous hypnotic-based technology that can make people very sick when utilized against them for the purposes of seeking wins, extorting money, building power, and destroying enemies. I suspect that when the Church of Scientology targets an individual, over time one begins to think one must have done something terribly wrong. One was a criminal in a past life, or in this life. One is somehow deserving of such treatment, and through this confining and manipulating method, fair game can make criminals and insane people out of genuinely good people who believed in L. Ron Hubbard and were willingly indoctrinated by this so-called church. Attempting to survive, they are not. I personally believe they are evil, cruel, and must be stopped. I was never an enemy of the church, and today I thank the church for making me strong to express in my writings a suffering of the mind endured especially between 2000 to 2006 and 2013 to 2017. That I never knew existed, and a very special rediscovered relationship with God that never let me fail. Writing my story protects me, my family, my friends, other innocent dreamers from becoming targets. Selected extracts from Church of Scientology's Fair Game by L. Ron Hubbard that I personally experienced through Fair Game 1 through 13. Number 1. Somebody, someday, will say this is illegal. By then, be sure orgs, Scientology organizations, say what is legal or not. L. Ron Hubbard, Policy Letter, January 4, 1966. LRH Relationships to Orgs. Number 2. If attacked on some vulnerable point by anyone or anything or any organization, always find or manufacture enough threat against them to cause them to sue for peace. L. Ron Hubbard, Communications Office, 15 August 1960, Department of Government Affairs. The purpose of the suit is to harness and discourage rather than to win. The law can be used very easily to harass, and enough harassment on somebody who is simply on the thin edge anyway, well knowing that he is not authorized, will generally be sufficient to cause his professional decease. If possible, of course, ruin him utterly. L. Ron Hubbard, A Manual on the Dissemination of Material, 1955. Number 4, when we need somebody haunted, we investigate. When we investigate, we do so noisily, always. L. Ron Hubbard, Manual of Justice, 1959. Number 5, people attack Scientology. I never forget it. Always even the score. People attack auditors or staff or organizations or me. I never forget it until the slate is clear. L. Ron Hubbard, Manual of Justice, 1959. 6. Enemy SP order, fair game, may be deprived of property or injured, this is the famous one, or injured by any means by any Scientologist without any discipline of the Scientologist, may be tricked, sued, lied to, or destroyed. Policy letter, 18 October 1967. SP equals suppressive person, aka critic of Scientology. 7. The practice of declaring people fair game will cease. Fair, it's in all caps. Fair game may not appear on any ethics order. It causes bad public relations. This PL, policy letter, does not cancel any policy on the treatment or handling of an SP. So this is fair game. In other words, you can't call it fair game. You can't call it fair game but you still do fair game because it doesn't cancel any of the other policies dealing with handling SPs. Policy letter, October 1968, cancellation of fair game. This is what they talk about and say, okay, fair game was canceled. Okay, right. 8. A truly suppressive person or group has no rights of any kind, and actions taken against them are not punishable. Policy letter 1 March 1965. Div 1, Ethics, Suppressive Acts, Suppression of Scientology and Scientologists. 9. In any event, any person from 2.0 down on the tone scale, which I believe is anger, should not have, in any thinking society, any civil rights of any kind, because by abusing those rights he brings into being arduous and strenuous laws which are oppressive to those who need no such restraints. Science of Survival, 1989. 10. There are only two answers. Absolutism. There are only two answers for the handling of people from 2.0 down on the tone scale, neither of which has anything to do with reasoning with them or listening to their justification of their acts. The first is to raise them on the tone scale by uninterbulating them some of their theta by any one of the three valid processes. The other is to dispose of them quietly and without sorrow. Dispose of them. 11. The sudden and abrupt deletion of all individuals occupying the lower bands of the tone scale from the social order would result in an almost instant rise in the cultural tone and would interrupt the dwindling spiral into which any society may have entered. This is Nazi shit. 12. This is the correct procedure. Spot who is attacking us. Start investigating them promptly for felonies or worse, using our own professionals, not outside agencies. In-house. Double curve our reply by saying we welcome an investigation of them. start feeding lurid blood, sex, crime, actual evidence on the attackers to the press. Don't ever tamely submit to an investigation of us. Make it rough on the attackers all the way. Policy letter 25 February 66. 13. The only way you can control people is to lie to them. You can write that down in your book of great big letters. The only way you can control anybody is to lie to them. L. Ron Hubbard, Off the Time Track, Lecture 1952. All right. Note that the Scientology organization is commonly referred to as the Church of Scientology. The readers should be aware that in reality, global Scientology is a complex international legal structure of multiple corporations, some of which are non-profit and some of which are not. The terms Scientology and Dianetics are trademarks and service marks owned by Religious Technology Center, Los Angeles, California, USA. For a detailed explanation of Scientology's copyrights, trademarks, and other legal issues involving the names and symbols used by the organizations collectively known as Scientology and Dianetics, see trademark section of the official Scientology website. All right, part 2. Luftwaffe ace Egon Mayer. When I was in my early 20s, I was told that the sure way to find out who our soulmate was, one had to stand naked in front of a large mirror at midnight with a white candle on October 31st, the eve before All Saints, the Day of All Saints. Well, I could barely wait. Once in front of the mirror, a man with a strong constitution appeared. He had thin lips, curved chin, deep-set eyes, wide forehead, attached ears, thick neck, muscular torso. He was dirty with what appeared like black smoke scattered in his sweaty body. I knew immediately that was not my soulmate. That was me. I had captured a moment of a past life looking in a mirror. For I was feeling what he was feeling, thinking what he was thinking, and those feelings and thoughts I had nothing to do with my present existence. Many years later, in 2004 and 2005, during my struggle with the suspected harassment of Scientology, I received a call, as many previously that I suspect were Scientology, in which I was offered a job, and on the day of the interview, the meeting was canceled, as usual. This did not occur only with jobs, but also interested purchasers of my work that continuously canceled last minute, and dates that introduced themselves to me during nights out, and then they canceled meeting me further in a manner that was odd, unexpected, and hostile. Sometimes they wouldn't show up at all. It caused me deep anxiety and depression, deep suffering and fear. I had no idea that Scientology was harassing me, nor the manner they harassed people at the time. I had recently lost a job because a client had wrongfully blamed me for soliciting. I assumed this as the manager fired me and yelled, "We don't want whores here." Throughout my multiple public jobs, unreasonable amount of strangers complained about my services, but rarely, if ever, personally. Every day there were also night and day loud and unbearable door slamming, which didn't allow me to sleep. I was suffering so much with anxiety that my skin was bruised from my nail scratching and digging at it. In the street, strangers yelled at me, gave me the fuck you finger, laughed at me, pushed me, one even kicked me, and they were young, attractive, energetic, and in the end they smiled like it was nothing more than a game. On March 2nd, 2005, I attempted suicide. I wanted to die. I tried to survive these terrifying times. I tried to ask for help. I tried telling friends and family. I tried to contact police, but people treated me like I was mad. I wasn't sure anymore that I wasn't either. I just knew what was happening wasn't normal, nor my fault either, and I believed that there was no way out. I wonder often about many others who have died by methods of fair game, just like it almost happened to me. I realized years later through Dianetics auditing that March 2nd was the date that Egon Mayer had also passed away in 1944. After taking multiple pills and falling unconscious, I recall feeling that I was being shot at and falling away from a very blue sky, spinning round and round. Please understand Scientology harassment uses cover methods of indoctrination, so there is an excessive and constant feeling of interiorizing that permits this so called spirit to often reveal itself, a method that is dangerous and uncontrollable. In July 2016, I had a dream. It wasn't only a dream. Very odd, harassing, noisy events were taking place in my home. Numerous pestering calls from the church. That night, I lay in my bed, my heart beating hard. My dream was unconscious. My eyes were open. It seemed as if in a trance. In that vision, I was driving my VW red car through a forest, and its trees were guiding me forward. Then I came to a stop upon reaching the thin arches of a cathedral that had been destroyed many years prior. But the tower walls and the main archways had survived, and they were heavily mossy. I exited the red car, but I was no longer myself. My body was strong and sturdy. My hair was short and gelled back. I was wearing light-colored shorts and a light-colored shirt. I was deeply in pain from my right leg. I was also suffering emotionally. I reached the center of this cathedral and kneeled to ask God for forgiveness for the evils I'd committed. God was silent. I shed tears and I kissed the ground. Then I observed the sky explosions of fire that would brighten the sky of different colors. It was beautiful. I wanted to get back to my prior life, help my troubled country, help my family, and help my comrades. I wanted this so desperately. Beside the explosions and the skeleton of a cathedral that was a tower that stood strong and indestructible, I was deeply shaken by this dream or vision. A couple of months later, I found out Egon Mayer was buried from 1944 to 1955 in a cemetery steps away from an abandoned cathedral with its main wall standing strong and the remaining collapsed with only the visible arches. The Table Mountain was green and humid like in my dream, too. During auditing at Scientology in October and November 2016, I was asked by the auditor if I was having a past life experience and what was my name. I said that my name was Igor Mazier or Igor Mayer. Then I said, intoning differently, Ego May. I thought to have said grinning, but the description of the event, I heard the name Eugene being called often at me. But I also stated that during Dianetic auditing that I wasn't comfortable about being known in the street and that I was known. People's reactions were strong and made me uncomfortable. Some admired me, some feared me, some hated me and what I represented. After that session, I believe there was a chance of finding out about my online following what I had said in trance. I also knew from descriptions of my work that I was a pilot. Once I Googled pilot Igor Mazier, pilot Igor Mir, Egon Mayer, came up on every search by those names. I did not recognize him, so I chose to ignore that option. But further attempts, I looked at his other pictures, and there were 3 pictures that were identical to the man in the mirror seen in my 20s. I believe in my flesh and in my mind that I was Major Egon Mayer in a past life. During that initial session, I felt myself die. Apparently, it was only a memory of myself dying being processed. Someone told me afterwards. But I felt like I had truthfully died, and sessions later, I felt that Egon Mayer gave me himself, his identity, his memories, his strength, his wisdom, his survival skills. He is my angel. I only wish I could go back to that life, for he was so much more courageous, attractive, and admired than I. Every day I look in the mirror, I expect to see Eugene there. If someone asks me now what I wanted most, I want to go back to 1917. My experience with Scientology weren't positive in relation to the hypnotic trance-inducing mind control manipulations L. Ron Hubbard developed. Ron Hubbard has also adapted ancient spiritual occult knowledge that does allow one to discover one's past lives. It can be fatal and traumatic. I consent not for anyone on earth to find themselves in the right to be my purgatory. Part 3, Death of my Spirit. My essay is based on my experience only, with additional consultation from my logs, memories, journals that I took as a suspected fair game target by the Church of Scientology. On a Wikipedia document entitled Scientology and the Occult, the following statement is offered. Crowley's ideas on magic are at the core of Scientology. From Hugh B. Urban. I am in the process of writing a novel inspired in this personal experience, which began in my childhood. I am writing this essay specifically before I engage myself with further studies in the research of spirit, of religions, and of philosophy for my work, because I want to stress this was my experience without much more knowledge on the matter than what I went through. I personally believe that the Church of Scientology engages actively in the practice of satanic methodology, knowingly or unknowingly, because they do have a skillful tendency to distort reality and communication, and to designate words such as valences, engrams, reactive mind, perceptics, keyed ins, so that they may remove themselves from any responsibility. Example, they often blame their critics for thinking negatively. Personally, I believe the members and followers of the Church of Scientology are caught in a web of contradicting and unworkable modern religion simply because it's a foundation based in hypnosis and Satanism. Hubbard and Crowley perished with drugs in their systems, and they didn't lead lives in any way exemplary, inspiring, nor desirable as to establish in any way the future of a stable religion or order. From what I've experienced, the Church serves itself only, financially, morally, and ethically unable to produce a single individual that has abilities above having developed EMF sensitivity, schizophrenia, or schizoid tendencies, paranoia, obsessive, dissociative, hysteria tendencies that their doctrine is at risk of causing others. EMF sensitivity. I theorize that a frequency instrument may be used during auditing from another adjacent room to deepen the trance. I am very thankful to the many ex-members who posted their stories and helped me figure out the mess I had gotten into. I personally began struggling with EMF sensitivity from the first auditing session. My EMF sensitivity, I suspect, was as a result of them using frequency during sessions. I also suspect the Church doesn't outright inform people they are enemies of their organization until they have indoctrinated the individual with data and frequency-based auditing. As a staff member said, a PTS or suppressive can only go prior OT levels. When I began complaining about EMF sensitivity, the evening chaplain was upset that I was talking about it. As a consequence, EMF sensitivity, I developed tinnitus, depression, suppressive effects of the Church's fair game use of reverse processing. Upon leaving, I experienced horrific examples in which my energy, or perhaps even spirit, felt as if it was being expelled or sucked out of my body through constant death-like experiences. I believe they use wavelength frequency to introduce wall punching, loud door slamming, keychain noise, etc., when under the trance of auditing while describing events related to MEST, matter, energy, space, and time. When I contacted a known New York hypnotist, she informed me that she had a few ex-Scientologists struggling with similar noises, even after years of leaving the organization, and not only during their Dianetic auditing sessions. During Scientology auditing, I read a little into their disturbing methods, for I felt like my energy was being pushed out of my body very often during auditing. Now I suspect that these are part of Ron Hubbard's satanic ideology. When I experienced death during session, my body raised, my spirit left, and I went limp during the session. What I find most challenging to forgive this church is the effect that fair game had on me. It made me feel like a criminal when I was never one. And the church often behaves as if above the law, causing downfalls in people's lives and manipulating knowledge with the only end of controlling their minds into believing that ghastly, lying ideology. Scientology is darkness, and its commercial face is, in my experience, a lie. I truthfully feel that the religion of Scientology is evil and intentionally attempts to cause trouble, suppression, use hypnotic authority, that it eventually leads to spiritual death, so that people become mentally enslaved to their doctrine, judging from what I personally experienced. I also observe in some people feeling nothing for their families after entering Scientology. The media tends to blame the church, but it's the auditing that changes the human being. And I believe it may lead to the death of its spirit through means of Crowley's black magic, by which Hubbard was inspired. The only thing that I am very proud of accomplishing during these difficult 12 years, 2000 to 2006 and 2013 to 2017, is for continuing to write my stories, photograph, do poetry, draw, journal, and log writing from all my personal experiences. I chose to use the experience creatively and not destructively. My work is personal, and The Shadow of David was written with understanding and love, and even hope that everything would end well, knowing my own very rights to a peaceful, happy existence in America. And there's the videos. Here's a statement. Noises like honking, door punching, locks, car engines, keys, chair dragging, pedals were dropping applied during auditing. They were applied with multiple positive and negative reinforcements. I still occasionally hear these noises in my own home. Any of these noises heard has a naturally positive or negative reinforcement. I believe Scientology auditing may cause episodes of schizophrenia. Some people in Scientology hear noises too and believe they are from incarnate spirits. I received an email from a Scientologist advising me to not react to noise or it would get worse. I received another email from a hypnotherapist stating she has received multiple clients who were in Scientology who heard noises too. Add fair game and I'm miraculously still alive. I believe that Scientology shows us videos at events of people being dragged to psychiatrists to keep us scared. I believe mest noise is applied by Scientology to make us schizophrenic and confines us to their religion. Fair game was confirmed by a New York chaplain in 2016 when informing of my stress. She said it was for things I had said. On my way to an event, stalked with a yelling tall blonde screaming, "My brother is going to destroy you. Stop writing. And you will lose your kids," multiple times. In 2004, 2005, the noises in my home recorded 80% of the time. Click, 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 click. I visited a suspecting neighbor, 23U, Gershwin building. I was 22U. She was Asian, empty apartment with only a computer, desk, and chair. Current neighbor purchased home in the summer of 2013. A suspecting Scientology handler, 15-30 times a month, leaves, enters home same time as me. Not since this video. Hooray. Unusual noise inside my home, September 2013 to 2017. Recorder once more picks up. Click, click, click. Mest as per Hubbard's doctrine, a pre-clear will begin processing or reverse processing once indoctrinated under 3 circumstances. Harassment, being alone, semi-conscious. Trigger sound, clicking of fingers at the start of every Dianetic auditing session. I suspect Mr. Hubbard made a few formulas like Mest and wrote hundreds of books with the intention of hiding them too. Part 5 timeline from number 1. 2000 to 2003, I suspect I was targeted for something I said to a suspected Scientologist. He said this technology cured him of a childhood illness. Multiple mind games and hostilities went on that broke me down in these years. Number 2, in 2004 and 2005, I received services at Scientology and recognized some people involved in past events. My suspicions are Scientology perhaps targets people using suppressive tactics, distortion of communication, and and objects to get them in their church. All came to an end in 2016. Summer of 2013 to 2017, they once more begin harassment tactics. Suppression, distortion of ARC, physical mess, positive and negative reinforcement noise. I mysteriously lose 3 jobs and return to my writing after many other personal falls. I'm very stressed out, but what hooks me in again is always the attention and the opportunity to finally find out the truth. Why me? 9/9/2014. I see David Miscavige smiling at me in the street at the History Museum, but Scientology later told me that was impossible. 2015 and 2016. I received services at Scientology again, but this time I realized they may be using noise in my auditing too. Cheap services, so I can't make a claim that it bankrupted me. But fair game doesn't stop, and this time I'm reading about it on the internet. There is drive-by noise on my street, stalking for 3 blocks after I leave the church nightly. Due to this, I leave in 2016. 2016 to 2017, again suppressive tactics lead to my frequency, which I don't know why, to become unbearably high. I suffer multiple exteriorizations. It's a body of electricity that comes out of me and then goes back in over and over. I suffer multiple unconscious seizures lasting 3 to 5 seconds in a span of 3 to 10 days. My neurological system burns up and my whole body does weird things. 7. YouTube. I go public because I think I'm going to die as this frequency gets stronger with their strange tactics. I think they believe I am evil. I cried after recording part 1 because I hate going out to destroy someone, but I had to. Part 6, frequency. A girl informed me by email that my long troubles with high frequency, which she watched on my YouTube, may also be related to Scientology tactics, as Leah Remini mentioned it in her show. I don't have a television, and when I had it for the children for 4 years, we rarely turned it on. Miss Remini's show is relatively unknown to me. I have set myself apart from other critics because I wanted my experience to remain unaffected by what the others know. During auditing sessions at Scientology, I sensed frequency equipment in a semi-conscious session, and some mess noises mentioned in videos may have been introduced with a sonar or similar. When I went on their online page, I posed the question to the public about the strange session with some sort of frequency, and a Scientologist replied, "It's a sonar." The EMF symptoms: higher sensitivity, vomiting, hemorrhages, headaches, speak without control, muscle tightening, neurological curling in, weight loss, difficulty swallowing, physical push-out symptoms, subconscious push-out, sunburnt skin, hearing outside sounds as if inside my home, my earache appearing to be head pressure, less physical, more mental. Ear doctor believed that I worked in the military due to the nature of damage in my ears. Symptoms for my animals: constant vomiting, pulling out fur or feathers, unkept fur or plumage, occasionally despair to leave home, excessive sensitivity to any sound I may do, constant ear infections. When electricity is partially disconnected, within 12 to 24 hours, the body and mind return to normal. My Scientology story, part 4, unlisted. Failed tests while attempting to examine, capture, and further my hypothesis that my electrical frequency exteriorizations are spiritual, visual, and alien in nature. I'm beginning to depart from my Scientology story in search of what was it that launched their maddening chase against me. Unless provoked by fair game tactics, I don't dislike Scientology. I don't even care that they exist. Everyone has rights to existence, but just not in my life, my body, nor my mind. My Scientology story is willingly coming to an end as I search for my own journey involving electrical frequency some call spiritual. When able, I will continue attempting to capture an exteriorization on camera And from that moment onwards, I hope to suffice proof exists that my story is no longer a Scientology story, and that I am very excited for this incredible experience, that once conscious, it may prove we don't always need our body, and it may also prove my ongoing rant about being an alien during auditing. Semi-consciousness was what I got fair game for. There are a few poems dedicated to an alien spirit within me in the Shadow of David by Romy Erickson. Otherwise, why so much effort, money, madness spent pushing around a nobody such as myself? This morning I wrote in my journal that if these exteriorizations I am experiencing only happen in the mind, then throw them in the garbage. It's real or it's nothing. Part 7, Tom Cruise. Scientology's fair game is about deception and lies. It is in the manner of the shadowing, duplicating, falsifying, and application of noise as victims are investigated and targeted. The noise application is done by hypnosis mist technique during auditing, but also with the use of sonar harassment in one's home environment. This has been my experience. In part 1 and part 2, the mind game led me to believe that perhaps the VIP was concealed behind the strange and odd events. Upon analyzing my story, the mind game of deception from Scientology appeared to give the illusion to Tom Cruise to possibly keep me most acceptable and curious to fair game. I just completed my novel out later this year, inspired in this story, and one of the characters is inspired in Mr. Tom Cruise, amongst others. The recent helicopter noise in my home is sonar harassment and alludes to him as a form of intimidation, so that I cease and desist from publishing it. People don't believe that Scientology may use sonars to harass, yet are supportive to sexual and physical harassment must understand that mental and spiritual harassment is as important as the others. I am not schizophrenic. I am not hallucinating. Instead of explaining fair game, I confront their deceptions and lies by believing them. Scientology shadows as if a mirror to my own truths, and this turns my own dreams to lies and horrors. I simply confront them by reacting to the lies and horrors as a way to return once more to my truth. This is a mean, irritated, affected video. I'm sorry for those who I offend. I want them to stop using sonars as a form of harassment. In this same video, you will hear 3-finger clicking that I never did. Once more, I don't read any Ron Hubbard nor content of apostates. I have my own spiritual journey, and Mr. Ron Hubbard was a liar. My own readings on Hermetic, occult, and esoteric works have helped me the most. 3 days after doing this video, my frequency is once more extremely high, and I'm back to part 3, preparing for another exteriorization of some form of electricity. This is my spiritual journey, and I wish the evil of Scientology had not crossed my path. I hope you understand my words, and if you don't, please start in part 1, then part 2, then part 3 before watching this video. I am also hoping to further analyze where the alien recall or exteriorization came from, as told in part 3, but I suspect that the use of a sonar effects in the pineal gland in the brain, which scientists claim leads to an opening to the 4th and 5th dimension, and additional consciousness of reality. Please Google pineal ion article and whatever. Updated 1/27/2018. All right. So apparently this isn't the original. Yeah. So Helena Ullent's My Creative Laboratory. I don't know if it's still up. We're about to find out, Blues. Here she is. Now, everything that she has here I kind of want. I guess a good thing to sort of draw from this is that there are people with children uh, that just want to be left alone and they don't want their kids anywhere near it. And in certain situations, yeah, I mean, they will try to manipulate your environment, you know, up to and including your kids or your access to them. I don't know what happened with her, but this all used to be my Scientology story, and now it is my nanobot story. And while they are similar, I haven't watched all of these. Uh, in yeah, see these. Wow, these were originally published much earlier. Um, yeah, 5 years ago. That's is that 2017 or 2018? 2024 minus 5. This is 2019. Yeah, I mean this was 2017 when but here it's 125 2018. It may be very different. She may have been able to get her kids back. I don't know. There's no telling. Um, so the what I read. Where the hell is it? Yeah, okay, so this was sent January 29th, 2018. This was when she was done. And there's another document that I had. I know I have it somewhere. Question is where? The links that I put up, now I'm not sure if those are the right ones. Let me see. Because there were definitely more. There was like 7 or 8. If this brings us to my nanobot story, yeah. Oh, okay. 2017, yes. So that's correct. All right. And comments are turned off. Comments are off on everything. And yes, there were more. If you get to one of these, she made sure to put every single link to every single video in every part. So at least she did that, even though it's unlisted. So it's long. It's likely that she was a potential candidate back in 2005, 2006 to marry Tom Cruise based on her location, based on how she was brought in, how people are handled in that way, because, you know, you want to be able to fuck someone up immediately. You want a kill switch on them. Is really what it amounts to. You want to be able to ruin them so quickly and utterly that, you know, they just won't even consider saying anything about anything that happened. Oh Okay, so now let me go back and read the comments because I was just reading all of that. Okay, cool. I don't have like pages. Uh, yeah, distort reality and communication. Yeah. Um, one of the way Nikarasu, one of the ways they try to change people's perceptions is by controlling the headlines, and will contract all the journalists as a way to push an idea. Yeah, absolutely. Publishers, media people, uh, entertainment industry, and they don't even have to know. They just say, "Oh, you know, I want to push this and this and this," and they don't know. They don't care. If you hover over the year, it will tell you the date. Yeah, okay, we got the date. I hope she and her family are okay. Man, what an experience. Yeah, me too. I think I think she's okay. There was a video. I don't think it's on that YouTube where she was gonna be moving back in with her kids. So damn, we went from 10 to 1, 11, 12, 1, 30. 3.5 hours. It's a record. Well, I have not received any information as of yet. But it's just halfway through the day. So we'll see. Um, yeah, beach. It's wild. It's really, really wild. I mean, they'll go to some pretty extreme lengths. Not for everybody, but for someone who maybe, I don't know, possibly had sex with Tom Cruise or something, or even had a date with him. Yeah, they probably put that kind of effort into, like, number one, not delivering, quote, standard tech so that, as I said earlier, they can discredit, oh, you're not a Scientologist. You never were a Scientologist. Well, you're crazy, is what you are. Without that person having enough information or knowledge about the internal justice system of Scientology, if you want to call it that, to defend yourself, because you can do that through things like, well, I mean, you can theoretically do that through committees of evidence and IJC hearings, International Justice Chief hearings, HCO hearings, and stuff like that. So yeah, we made 3.5 hours, and I think that's about as much as I'm gonna do. So it's Monday, the 11th. It's 1:30. Go forth, ye, and carpe diem. Seize the day. However you want. The world is your oyster. That's a record. That's a wrap. See you guys.